What? Why do men cheat?
Yes. This is actually, it's going to be controversial.
Go for it.
A woman shows love to her man towards just being loyal and being like in acts of service. Oh my God, I lost my voice.
So the controversial thing was coming for her throat, guys. It was coming for her throat. They were trying to stop her from talking.
And I do believe that in life there is always a scale of 100 in each type of connection. If someone, for example, is 30, he's gonna find his 70 in all kind of things.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I have another great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we talk about all things dating, relationships, and see if we can figure out what we can do to attract the kind of person that we're looking for. So without further ado, please welcome Yousra back to the show.
Hello, everyone.
How are we today, Yousra?
Good, great. It's sunny and it's bright, and I'm happy. How are you?
I know, I'm good. I'm good. I was just saying that, I got back from holiday recently and we came back and the weather's basically the same. It's basically the same way we just were. Like, why did we leave?
Just enjoy it today. Tomorrow it's not going to be the same.
Oh my gosh, standard British weather. Well, let's jump in. I like to jump in, right? So let's start with your age or your age range, if you don't tell us your age. And one thing a guy should know about you now, if he wanted to take you on a date.
I am 26 years old, and something a guy wants to know about me.
Yeah, what should he know about you if he wanted to take you out on a date?
Authenticity.
Authenticity.
Yes, I leave it broad this way.
Okay.
I won't dive deeper into details, but I won't just say authenticity.
What does inauthenticity look like on a first date to you?
A person being himself, and I can have to sense this energy of not being fake or like projecting a kind of an image that it's not the truth. I have to feel this truthfulness in all aspects of, for example, for conversation, manners, things like that.
100%. And do you feel like you can see that better now than before?
Absolutely.
Why is that?
I think I've gone into a cycle of growth since the last time we've spoken. So now my vision has extremely changed. Okay. By the way, I want to speak about this as well. When I was saying polarities, feminine and masculine. Now, I remain in my feminine no matter what. However, I set boundaries.
We love it. And boundaries are important for sure.
Yes.
So would you say before you say now you sit in your feminine kind of more full time,
yes.
shall we say? So kind of how are you before? Like what's the difference in how you are now before in terms of your masculine and your feminine?
Before I was more shielding myself and putting myself like really withdrawn, not even attending kind of some very large social events or something, just out of fear. But then I realized, why is that? I mean, maybe the problem is in me. It's not in the other people.
True.
So then I reflected and I sat down and I found out that no, Yousra, it's you. So you have to fix your vision and approach to the world. Maybe things would be better if you do so. And it is 100%. As I changed myself internally, my external world changed.
Wow. So can you give us a couple of examples where you feel like that's really benefited you?
It's kind of reflecting me in everyday life as well. Actually, I have developed more it's not regarding relationships just firmly, but friendships as well. The way I interact with people is more genuine, more nice. I provide value and people provide value to me. So it kind of, I think I grew up in this time frame.
Interesting. I hear that. I mean, we love growth. So what do you think? Because I think a lot of people, especially a lot of women, right? It's natural for them to feel guarded and maybe in their masculine to protect themselves, because the masculine protects the feminine, not just with relationships, but within ourselves, right?
Polarities.
And maybe because of the experiences they've had before, maybe they've been hurt before, maybe they've had some bad experiences, so they kind of sit in that masculine to protect the vulnerable side of them, which is natural to do. But I guess, how did you get to a point where you could, I guess, because if you're opening yourself up, that's definitely having a level of vulnerability, isn't it?
Exactly.
So how did you get to that point where you could be more vulnerable again?
Actually, it's just self-realization. I
Mm,
was thinking, why am I, for example, attracting this type of people? Or why am
mm,
I not able to connect on a deeper level with someone?
yes.
So I just reflected on myself and I said that maybe because I'm not allowing myself to be vulnerable, because I'm scared, because I have fear inside of me. So the
Mm,
second I said, okay, I embrace vulnerability and
yes.
but still keeping boundaries for myself, this is where everything has changed. I acknowledge being vulnerable, being emotional,
Mm,
but not to the extent of repelling people. This is what I used to do, obviously.
right. And did you particularly found this happened with guys as well, or
Yes,
right?
definitely. I mean, it's something I wouldn't argue. I would
What
I
would you
would
do?
say that with like in my dating experience,
Mm,
I've had more, even if we didn't proceed to something like further than one date or two, but at least in that date, I enjoy it. And
mm,
that's why I said authenticity in the first thing when I
okay.
started this podcast, because I found that being myself, being authentic, the other person reflect the same thing as well.
Very
So we
true.
are connecting on a more purest level like than what I used to do before, or
Yeah.
trying to create a persona of someone I'm not, or
Yeah, a
just
hundred
shielding or
percent.
barriering myself.
And I think especially because when I think a lot of guys feel when they go to date with a girl, especially
Hmm.
if you're an attractive girl, they're like, oh, a lot of guys are looking to you as in for cues to see how he can connect with you. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, because he wants to make a good impression,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not saying that girls don't feel pressure in first dates to make a good impression, but I do think dynamically initially it does feel more that guy is qualifying himself to her for to go on another date because he already knows that he wants to date her, right? Where she's like, well, let me see what you're about first, and then I'll see if I want to take this further. So I think when you lead with that, like you were saying, that kind of open generosity, I think that allows men to go, oh, cool, I can just, give that too. And if he's not the person to give that, then I guess you know straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, you're 100% right. And this is what really happened in majorly the situations I've been in lately.
Yeah.
So, me allowing a certain space where the man just can show who he is truthfully has been a game changer.
No
So, that's
way.
the advice I will give to women.
Yeah, of course. So would you say, has it been a game changer in terms of how men treat you or in terms of the kind of men you attract? Or both?
Both, actually. Yes.
Both.
Actually,
Okay.
even I have seen a person that I've used to see before, but that at this dinner, exact dinner, it was not the same. As if I met a new
Interesting.
people, a new person, a new man, but it's the same old. Uh, no, can we repeat this?
Yeah, yeah, go for it. No,
Okay.
correct yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so it happens to me last time when I went on a dinner with a person I used to see,
Yeah.
but it felt different actually, as if it's not the same person. It's just because
Mm.
I allowed myself to be more myself, if I can say so.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So what did you find that did he treat you differently or did he give you something like was the energy different in what he gave
Yes,
you? So
absolutely.
what was it before when you were kind of how you were before and then what was it now for you?
Actually, first he was just trying to impress me with like some superficial stuff. But then
Yes.
for the first time we had a true conversation.
Mm.
I knew things I didn't know about him before, just because I
Wow.
give the space I gave the space for it, and that's it. And that was a game changer. And I did appreciate very much that conversation. I mean, more than any other date we have been to.
Yeah, of
And I just
course.
figured out that it was all me, not him.
Damn. Well, I mean, I guess what you give out is what you'll receive from the universe, right? So, um, now, like you said, it's still important to set boundaries,
Yes,
right? Because it's great being generous and vulnerable, but at the same time, you don't want people to take advantage of you and
of
walk all
course.
over you. And I think that's a big fear for, especially for a lot of women, understandably so. So, how is it different in how you set boundaries now, or is it what boundaries you set now? Like, what does that look like now for you?
I mean, now boundaries are very, very important for me, but I perceive them as a criteria of choice before going some on a date, for example.
Okay.
For example, I would literally ask myself, what am I have to recognize myself first. What am I okay with? What am I not okay with? So I set literally a list of things, and based on that list, if the person crosses one of my boundaries, then I say, oh, it's a red flag. But it's kind of related to the same thing, is to know yourself better, because what might trigger me might not trigger another woman, for
Very true.
example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of, you have to know yourself better so you can set better boundaries and know who is able to respect your standards or to cross your standards, who's qualified and who is not. So actually, it's been a challenging task, but it got me to knowing myself better at the end.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. What's something you would like to ask today or talk
Ooh.
about?
Actually, I remember last time
Yep.
when we spoke, we had a little debate about why men cheat.
Okay.
So this
Okay.
is literally very funny. I want to hear from you now.
Okay. What? Why do men cheat?
Yes.
Why do guys cheat? Well, there are a few reasons why guys can cheat, and I think why he cheats is dependent on how the relationship is. If he's in a happy relationship, like everything's going well, usually the reason he cheats is because he wants something different. That's not making it okay, but usually that's the reason. If things aren't going well, and let's say they're not having intimacy, they're not having sex, that could be a reason, right? Because, well, men and women both have needs, but stereotypically men have a higher sex drive, right? And like, I know girls
You
who are
think
like,
so? I don't.
you don't think so?
I think they're equal.
You think they're equal?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. The
Go
difference in a woman is just if she's happy with her man, she won't seek something else.
Yeah.
But like speaking about sex drive, I do absolutely think that it's equal.
Do you usually think, who usually withholds sex within a relationship?
Actually, it's different. I cannot give a general statement. It depends.
Have you heard relationships where girls have been like, oh, he's not having sex with me?
I did. Trust me, I did.
I mean, I've heard that. I guess, like, when I say withhold sex, I think, to be honest, I think when a woman's not having sex with a guy, it's usually because something isn't right. It isn't always because she doesn't have a drive. It could be because she doesn't feel loved. You know, they say that men need sex to feel loved and women need love to have sex, right? Sometimes it is that. But I have heard girls that are like, yeah, I'll be okay not having sex for several months, like, as long as I've got the guy. Do you know what I mean? I don't know any guy that would say that.
But are you sure they're not cheating with someone else?
They might be. I mean, that's always a possibility. But, you know, and we all have different drives. But I do think generally, I do think guys have a higher drive. And I think there's reason for it.
I think men are more oriented toward conquest and like discovering and experiencing new things, or just the fact of like, I can get another person, which is ego fulfilling and ego pleasing for a man.
Very true.
Whereas a woman, her ego is just happy with, for example, keeping the man fulfills the ego, not having a new one.
I think there is an element of women still thinking, oh, do I still get attention from other men? Can I still get attention from other men? Because sometimes, because I think we get validated in different ways.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
men get validated through intimacy, like sexual, physical intimacy. But I think women get validated through attention and time. So sometimes a girl be in a relationship, but she still wants to know that she can get attention from other guys.
Yeah.
The same way guys are like, he may be in a relationship, but he still wants to know that he can get sexual intimacy from other women. I'm not saying it's okay for him to do that. But that kind of brings me on to another reason why I think men cheat, or, you know, I read this in Esther Perel's book, that sometimes what guys are lacking is a level of emotional intimacy and respect within a relationship. And this is quite often when you get guys, especially if they're in a good place in life, but they have a relationship or a wife and they're not getting that, they will pay for escorts. And what they're paying for is the girlfriend experience, the girl who dotes on every, the experience of doting on his every word, smiling at him, flirting with him. He pays for the bill and she's like, oh, thank you so much for paying for this, or thank you so much for taking us out. And sometimes, and that has less to do with sex. Yes, sex can be involved for sure. But sometimes it's just the dynamic and the experience of having a woman who appreciates his masculine. And sometimes if a guy's not in that kind of relationship, or the relationship isn't that anymore, then he can look for appreciation elsewhere. That's not saying it's okay. You should address that with your partner. But yes, it's not always about sex. I would say if they're in a happy relationship, then it is probably just about sex, to be honest, like about variety, or if he's not having sex. But if they're not, then it's a bit more complicated, It's, I think we have to ask why. Because usually if women cheat, we always ask why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. But this brings me to another question.
Go for it.
Does this give kind of a permission slip to men to cheat?
No.
And according to you?
No, because you should be a man of your word. So if you say, hey, I'm exclusive to you and it's just us two, you can have justifiable reasons for stepping out. But if that's what you said that you're going to do, then you should do that. As in, you should commit to your word. Now, you can have the conversation of, and this comes into something that I want to ask you. Yeah. You can have the conversation of something like, this need isn't being met, and I care about you and I love you, but if you don't want to fulfill this need, and I don't want to have the pressure to put on you, then I might get it somewhere else. But you're communicating that. Now, obviously, how that goes down with the girl is questionable to depend on the woman. But this kind of brings me on to my question. And I guess we kind of disagree in terms of sex drive, but for the argument of this question, let's say you have a guy who has a higher sex drive than the woman that he's with. If he's, for example, let's say his physical need is sex 3 times a week, but she only wants to have sex 3 times a month, and her physical needs are met, right? Do you think it's justifiable for him to have the conversation of, well, I might get my sexual needs met elsewhere? Because I think the argument is she knows he has these needs. Those needs haven't changed when they got together, but she doesn't want to fulfill those needs as much as she did before. Fair enough. And she shouldn't feel that pressured to have sex with him. No one should. She only should do that if she wants to. But then should she then not give permission for him to fulfill that need elsewhere if she doesn't want to fulfill that need?
Actually, it's a very tricky question, to be honest. First of all, it brings me to another question. Why wouldn't she agree to have a sexual intimacy with her partner more often? What is the block? I mean, it's kind of a very tricky mental process, because normally if the woman is safe and feels love and everything, she would literally open up without even needing to, like, her man to ask her for something. It's just natural, which brings me to the core of a problem. There is something in there. Why isn't she agreeing, first of all?
But isn't there, because it does happen when people are together for a while, it's pretty normal for them to have less sex than in the beginning. But I do think a lot of time the slowing down of the frequency of sex does tend to come from the woman's part. Just like it's the same as like going on dates, right? In the beginning, they go on dates all the time, right? He's taking around all of this stuff. And as they get comfortable in the relationship, the amount of dates they go on tends to slow down. And I think that comes from the guy's part, right? Usually because it's like he's not offering to take her out. He's like, oh no, let's make time to actually go on a date, So... And, like I said, let's say her physical needs are met by just doing a few times a month, right? If his needs aren't being met like they were before, should she give him permission to go out?
I'll ask you one last question before giving my answer.
Okay, go for it.
Would he give her permission to get validated for like attention elsewhere, or it's just exclusive to the man?
Well, what does that look like?
as you said, men are validated through sexual intimacy and
Yeah.
women through attention.
Yeah.
Well, would he agree that his woman is like the center, the core of the attention of, I don't know, through some kind of thing?
So I think it would depend on how she got the attention. So if she's like, oh, well, I want to post sexy pictures online, fair enough. But if she's like, I want to be going on dates with other guys, probably wouldn't be okay. No, probably wouldn't be okay. But then I think if she was like, look, this is a need and I want more dates, then he should make an effort to do that. But then I think a woman just having sex, if she doesn't want to, like we enter like dangerous territory, right?
Yeah.
So I think how she gets the attention. If she's like, oh, I want to go on nights out with my girls, fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't always have to go out together. And guys, we know when you go out on girls' nights, we know you get attention from guys. That's just the way it is, right? So as long as he trusts her, some guys would be like, that's not an okay boundary to cross. Personally, I don't really, I don't care. Like, I don't feel threatened by that. So, like, if I'm with her, then I trust her. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, obviously there's some boundaries in other places. I'd be like, I'm not okay with that. So I would say it depends how she gets the attention that she wants. Like, she's actually gone on physical dates one-to-one with other guys. Nah. But she just wants to...
It's a bit too much.
But I think, well, yeah, because when you go on a date, you're not just getting attention, like, you are giving attention. Because it's one-to-one, right?
Yeah.
It's very different if she's, like, walking down, like, a runway, like a model runway, and there are guys admiring her. That's very different than going on one-to-one, because going on one-to-one, you're exchanging energy. Getting attention, you're just receiving energy. So I think, I wouldn't even say like going on dates is getting attention, because you're giving, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, if she's like, I feel like I'm not getting attention. We've heard this with, you know who Steph Curry is?
No.
Stephen Curry, he's an NBA player, like one of the best NBA players of our time. So his wife, who they've been together since day one, her name's Ayesha Curry, she's complained over the past few years, being like, she doesn't get attention from guys. Oh. And she's like, I don't know why. She's like, and every guy's looking at her like, you have the perfect life. You have the life every woman wants. You are the top NBA player. He loves you, committed to you. He goes, plays his game, comes home to you. You have your kids and you have the house, his name, the marriage, everything. But yet you still want attention from guys. Do you know what I mean? Because she's like, oh, well, he gets loads of these attention from other women. It's like, yeah, but he's an NBA player. Like, I don't know what she did before she married him. That sounds really bad, but I don't. Like, she wouldn't be as famous and on that level if it weren't for him. Do you know what I mean? He's the one who's done the work to put them there. So that's why he's getting attention. But yeah, so I want you to answer my question. Is it justifiable for her to give him permission?
To be honest,
if she doesn't want to have sex with him more.
I do think so, yes.
You do or you don't?
I do think so.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe in, this is actually, it's going to be controversial.
Go for it.
I do believe that men and women are different in giving attention or just connecting emotionally. A man, for example, would give that exclusivity to a woman, not just sexually. If she has the time, the attention, the protection, the providing, I mean, she is the center of his life, literally. But he would be very, very upset if something bad happens to her. He cares about her as a person, as a woman, in her evolution, as a, I don't know, career-wise, family-wise, or everything. She is the center of his world.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, this is how he proves his love. Sexual commitment for a man is important, but it's not the only metric of how a man shows love to a woman.
Very true.
Whereas a woman shows love to her man towards just being loyal.
Yeah.
And being like in acts of service. Oh my God, I lost my voice.
So the controversial thing was coming for her throat, guys. It was coming for her throat. They were trying to stop her from talking. But yeah, you're saying...
I lost my voice. Wow.
It's all right. She got it back. She's there. She's got it.
Okay, so yes, I'm back. I'm here. So a woman shows literally love to her man via committing to the man.
Wait, so like committing to him sexually?
Sexually, yes, and emotionally. Because even, for example, on a date, if she agrees to go on a date with a guy, it's gonna be because she felt something for this person. It's not just for the sake of just going on a date with someone.
Yeah, very true.
That's it. Whereas a man, as you said, he might be out with his boys and just ending up with some random girl, or like paying an escort. But does this mean that he's concerned about the escort, or how does she feel afterward, or if she's happy?
Very true.
I don't
Very
think
true.
so.
It's funny. The oldest profession in the world, prostitution. They say the man doesn't pay for the woman to have sex with him. He pays for her to leave afterwards. Because it's afterwards that naturally is when the emotional bond is fostered,
Yeah,
right? You have a
yeah, yeah.
cuddle, you release the endorphins, you're bonding and stuff. You do through sex as well, but that's afterwards when it happens. And obviously, when a guy is not emotionally invested in a woman, it's very easy for him to kind of have sex, finish, and then be like, cool, so I'm gonna get my train. Nice seeing you. Do you know what I mean? Which, you know, as long as both people are consenting. What would you say to women who say that that's a double standard? That, you know, her committing to him sexually is the same as him committing to her sexually.
I do think it's not the same, because we are physically and mentally wired differently, as I mentioned earlier. We are as women, we are very emotional, empathic beings. We don't, like, literally, if we act or do something, it's based on our emotion, because we feel good doing this, or because it feels. I mean, even if this in the slightest choice of life, even
Yeah,
if I'm choosing, I don't know, a pair of, I don't know, jeans, because it feels good.
feels good. Yeah.
It's not because, oh, it's the budget, it's the color, it's the texture. No, it feels good.
Yeah.
Whereas a man, it, I mean, would literally just analyze and be pragmatic and stoic about every and each decision in life. Generally, it's not like a statement, but like, it's how men are wired.
Yeah, I think definitely a man who's definitely more in his masculine, he just approaches things from a more logistical standpoint. And yeah, I think a lot of the time when things happen, women go, how does that make me feel? You know, even in relationships, you know, she'd be like, I don't want you to do this. He's like, why? She's like, because I don't feel good you doing it. It doesn't make me feel good. Whereas a lot of the time when a guy says it, he's like, I don't want you to do this because of X, Y, and Z. Like, very clear. Do you know what I mean? Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm biased as a guy. I'm like, that makes sense to me. And it's even with expressing issues or problems. Like, if when a guy says to his guy friends like, oh, I'm having this problem, immediately we're like, okay, what's the solution, right? Even when, and this took me a while to learn as well, but even when like his girlfriend comes to him saying, I'm having this issue, I don't feel good about this, guys go into solution mode, like,
Yeah.
how can we fix the problem? But sometimes a woman just wants to feel heard and
Yes.
validated.
Absolutely.
It's the feeling of expressing that, that's all she's looking for. And sometimes when guys go into solution mode, it's like, she's like, you're not listening to me. He's like, I am, because this is the solution. And she's like, no, 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 I just want you to hear me. That's it. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Do you think that's fair to say?
Exactly. No, I agree 100%, because women just want to be, sometimes we want to just complain about the problem first.
Yeah.
So we feel the relief of just like saying what's on our mind.
Yeah.
Like, we're heard, we're seen, we are acknowledged, and the feelings are acknowledged. Then we might be oriented towards solution afterwards. But even if a woman has a solution straightforward, she wouldn't really appreciate it, because she would feel as if nobody cares literally about what's happening.
Yeah. 100%.
But
100%.
that's how it is. That's why I come to the point again that it's not the same. That physical intimacy for men is for women is more delicate than it is for men.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. What do you think then about, what do you think about open relationships like polygyny or polyamory?
I'm not a quite fan of it, and I just don't think that it can, I mean, build kind of a bond. I am just not correcting, but like re-specifying what I was saying.
Mm,
It's, for example, cheating for a man shouldn't be like, okay, I wake up today, I'm cheating. No, this is not
mm.
what I meant by any mean.
Yeah, of course.
But if it happens due to some kind of X or Y reason, I think it's more tolerable for me than if a woman willingly chooses to cheat on her man.
So you think cheating is different?
Yes, I do. I do.
What is why do women cheat? Let me ask you. Why does she cheat?
If she is not, I mean, it's feeling, again, not feeling loved, not feeling heard, not feeling good in that relationship, or neglected. If she feels that someone could give her something more than her actual man, but emotionally, just the fact of like, yes, he loves me, he thinks I am the most beautiful girl on earth, whereas, for example, her man is just like, well, she's there.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
hear
kind
that.
of a feeling.
Do women ever cheat because I don't know how else to put this, and it puts it so black and white,
Mhm,
but because let's say, for example, she's with a guy who very normal, average guy who like is very, very normal and average in that sense.
mhm,
And then she has an opportunity to have an experience with a very high value, desirable guy
mhm.
for like a weekend or something. She knows she can, you know, does a woman ever cheat because she can have access to maybe a guy she finds a little bit more desirable? Not a little bit, I guess a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, because, you know, the stereotypical thing is a guy will be dating a girl and then she ends up hooking up with some superstar while she's on holiday. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's not leaving the guy for the superstar, but it was kind of like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
could that ever be a thing?
I mean, it depends on the values and morals of that woman
Mm,
herself. Because if she's just not invested emotionally, she would just, of course, it's just validation as well. It's kind of, yes, I got the attention of someone way much higher than the person I am with, which just
mm,
like rewires the brain differently towards,
mm,
okay, what if I can get a better man than the one I'm today? Maybe it's just a
mm.
hookup, but then it gives me the ideology, or like the perspective of having that kind of man, high value man, for a committed relationship.
Yeah,
I mean, but that's the thing, again, it comes to values and moral, but women do this, and absolutely it can happen.
yeah, of course. Interesting. Is there something else you want to ask or chat about?
um
Should I ask you something?
yeah, ask me something.
Yeah. Okay. Um, what's your approach to online dating now?
Online dating is a very diverse place to
Yeah.
date. I do personally think that dating, I don't like dating apps, to be honest.
Okay.
But I do think that Instagram is one of the potent dating apps ever.
100%. 100%.
Actually, it gives exposure,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no limiting, whereas for like other apps, you choose, you swipe. On Instagram, no, it's just an open slot, an open space
Yeah.
where everyone could be approached by anyone without any kind of restrictions. As you
Mm,
mentioned, celebrities, superstars, girls in like very small towns going, being flown to very big cities, and so on.
yeah.
It's a very competitive place today. And that's put me into another topic.
Go on.
How can a man or a woman in a relationship just be safe with their partners on Instagram?
Be safe with their partners on Instagram.
Yes,
What do you mean?
because if Instagram has all this exposure,
Yep.
how can a person feel safe if the partner is seen or put in those
Ah,
kind of platforms? This is something I've been thinking about. Is it okay to have Instagram profiles open if I'm with my man, like really, really, really in that committed relationship?
I hear you.
It's a bad thing, or am I disrespecting the person if I'm not even monetizing it? Why would I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that's been going through my mind.
Yeah.
And vice versa. It's not about women
Yeah, of
only.
course. Yeah, vice versa. Um, okay, so different people have different boundaries.
Mhm.
Um, I think if you want to manage it, you both want to still have Instagram, but you want to manage your exposure, just turn your accounts to private. Then it's kind of done, because if it's private, you're not going to be exposed to anyone who isn't already following you, and he's not going to be exposed to anyone who isn't already following him. And yeah, that limits kind of your pool, if you will.
Do you believe about temptation?
Yeah, of course, we can all get tempted, for sure.
But would men generally would get tempted more than women?
By other women?
Yeah. I mean, by switching or like literally committing to other women. Or like men are more stable if they feel good with a woman and they just want to settle. I'll just look excitement, elsewhere, but not commitment.
I think, okay, if we're talking social media, I think temptation definitely comes more for women, because even when a girl likes a guy online, she doesn't usually make the first move. Like, she's not sliding into his DMs. Some girls do that, but most girls don't. They'll like maybe like a few of his posts, or she'll like do fire emoji on like a bunch of his stories over a certain period of time. But that's not her initiating and starting the conversation. Usually it's guys who do that. Also, as well, if we're being honest, I think it's way less likely that a girl sees a guy online and goes, wow, he's so attractive, I want to talk to him, than the other way around. I think way more guys see girls that they want to talk to. So in terms of a guy and a girl being online, I think there's higher opportunity of temptation for her than for him. But if he is the kind of guy who does get sexual offers from women actively, I think the temptation is a lot stronger for him than for her.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. And you are right on what you said. Because, for example, but then again, it makes me through confusion again.
Okay.
That's why I was saying, is Instagram a fair place to date? If you're dating, no, a fair place to be if you're dating, because we are all being tempted. And just trust me, I have seen some of my friends, like male friends, DMs, and they do get girls, and girls do approach and, hey, what are you doing? Can we hang out? And like, really, it was something I haven't seen like quite often before, but now I do see this, like, what are you doing? Or
yeah, it is. It happens less for guys and girls, but it does sometimes happen. Is it a fair place? I mean, okay, the truth is there's way more temptation today than there ever has been before, right? We didn't have social media and the internet before. You were limited to your community of people.
Yeah.
And so even then, if you were going to cheat and have an affair, if it found out, everybody would know. So the consequences of being found out was a lot more dire, because you could be ostracized from your community, then you don't have anyone.
Yeah.
Now with transportation, the internet, you can find a new community wherever you go. You're going to Dubai, right? You're going to find a new community. Do you know what I mean? Of people. So it's definitely harder in terms of the amount of temptation, but it can be managed, you know, and you can have certain boundaries in place. So for example, I would never spend one-on-one time with like a girl who's not genuinely a friend of mine. Like, you know, it's weird. We have like people who are like acquaintances and friends, and then we have our tribe, right?
Yeah.
If she's not part of my tribe, I wouldn't hang out with her one-to-one just for social. Like, if I'm hanging out one-to-one with her, it's because there's either something potential there or there's like a business value there.
But you believe in friendship between men and women?
Yes, but it's rare. It's rare. It's possible, but I do think it's rare. As a general rule, most men cannot be friends with most women. They can't do it.
But don't you think there is always some kind of attraction somehow? That's why they are friends at the first place, because there is something in there. Maybe something that's not openly expressed, but just
romantic attraction?
Physical attraction, romantic, emotional, intellectual, but there is attraction for them to be friends.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say the attraction doesn't have to be physical or romantic, because, I mean, you know, guys have male friends, and that doesn't mean that they're friends with them because they're attracted to them.
No, but I'm speaking about opposite genders.
Yeah, I think I think, and this kind of plays into why I think it's rare. Because the truth is, not everybody is the same level of attractiveness, right? And not everybody finds each other the same level of attractiveness. So with a male and female friendship, it's quite common that at least one person will find the other person a little bit more attractive. That's pretty normal. And most cases, it's the guy finding the girl a bit more attractive, right? I'm a guy, I'm biased, but yeah, I would say most girls are more attractive than most guys, right? So because of that, it means that because if he's friends with her, it means he likes who she is. So if he finds her attractive and he likes who she is, she's ticked all the boxes for a relationship. So it's very easy for guys to very much be open to the idea of something happening. I think if you're genuinely friends, it means you're not open to something romantic, because that would ruin the friendship. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I wouldn't be friends with any girl that I would find attractive. Do you know what I mean? And I think, and this is what I'm saying, it can happen, but I think certain conditions have to be met. And I think for guys, that's one of the conditions. He can't be attracted to her or find her attractive to be friends with her.
Yes, but this makes the man in a just different, slightly more sensitive position in regards to like having a female friend, because even if he doesn't like her but she likes him for something, he provides something to her, so it's never that genuine. Do you know? I mean, it's even, he belongs to a certain social, I don't know, setting, or it's just for the fact of, I don't know, going out, or there is something in there. It's not 100% genuine. For example, if I call my girl, I can cry, I can say whatever I want without being judged, I'm not expecting her to do anything for me. Whereas a friendship dynamic between a man and a woman, it's a bit tricky. There are a lot of factors in there. I don't generalize.
Yes.
There can be genuine connections, but that's literally what happens, I mean, in most of cases.
Yeah, I think, well, relationship by definition means an exchange of value.
Yeah.
Right? So every friendship, right, every relationship we have with anyone, there's an exchange of value.
Yeah.
You're providing value to them, they are for you. It's questioning what is the value that's being exchanged. If the value that's being exchanged is one of potential chemistry, you can't have a friendship with that person. You're right, you can't. But if the value is, because you said like social setting, there are some friendships that are based because the start of it was because it helps them both in their social status. Do you know what I mean? Like people who are like, let's say influencers or people at a high level, they become friends because it explodes both their audiences. That's how friendships start with some people. Do you know what I mean? There's an exchange of value. Others, it's because, you know, you enjoy who they are, they feed you energy, you know, they fill up your cup and vice versa. But do you then say, like, as a general note, that, you know, men and women can't be friends? Or what would you say?
Mostly.
Okay. Do you have any male friends?
I said I changed. I used to think I do have male friends. Now I say no.
Interesting.
I have friends, yes, but like not to friends, acquaintances. Like people, yes, I connect with people I enjoy being around, but not like if, for example, someone I'm dating has done something to me, I'm not gonna pick up the phone and call a man to just say that. Whereas like just 6 months before, I thought it was okay, but then no, it's not. It's not. There is something in there.
Right. So have you noticed, how is your friendship with these guys? How has it changed since you've had this kind of growth for yourself?
Actually, it's changed in like many aspects. I just found out that, for example, even the how can I rephrase this? This is like kind of a breakthrough thing. It changed because right now they wouldn't approach. Can we? I have to think about this.
That's okay. Don't worry. No, don't worry. It's all fine. It's all fine. Would you say did it change in the sense of that you weren't friends anymore? Did it change in terms of how they were with you? Did it change on how you saw them? Like,
No, we are friends. I
okay,
still speak with people. I'm not like putting myself in kind of a bubble or something.
yeah,
But just I wouldn't just connect with, for example, a guy friend just because of, for example, earlier I would just get approached for example, let's have a coffee, but that coffee, is it genuinely because I'm there or because I'm validating something in their ego? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, or because I'm just like, yeah, I'm just enjoying just sitting there and just speaking about my feelings. Now I'm more invested into, okay, what value do I provide to this person? What value does this person provide to me? And if I can do this with a more genuine touch, why choose the superficial one than the genuine one?
yeah.
For example, that's the only thing how I say it's changed.
I hear
I
that.
still meet people, but then if there is something really, really impactful in my life, I'd rather go to my literally very old friends or family or like cousins. So it's kind of more equal, more true.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. Let me ask you another thing. Um, what's your idea of a perfect date?
A perfect date.
Yeah,
Ooh.
what's a perfect date for you?
Is, I would say, on a date, like a perfect date, I want to experience something I have never done before, because first impressions are very, very, very important. So if a man makes me go or do to a certain activity I've never done in my life, that would be perfect for me. But staying in the authenticity thing that I've literally spoken about,
Yeah, of course.
but not something that he wouldn't do in his normal life. Like, show me a part of your life, but something that it's not relatable to me. But then we can find our kind of equilibrium in the middle
Yeah,
of
yeah,
how to get to know each other, but then with a pleasant experience. And of course, I'm not going to forget the manners.
yeah,
I love gentleman manners. That's absolutely a must for me.
yeah. I hear that. Have you ever been on a date where you weren't fond of the guy, but you really enjoyed the activity that you were doing?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that,
What was that like? What was that dichotomy like? Because you enjoy what you're doing, but then the guy, you're like, I'm just not vibing with this. Like,
yes, actually, it was when I was very young. I loved to see football. And on that, this guy took me on a date on a football game. I
nice.
literally didn't feel like quite connecting with the guy, but because he took me for the first time to a stadium with, it was one of the happiest experiences I've ever done in my life. And I still have it here, even if it's like 10 years, not days, years ago.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As
So what
like,
happened with him?
no, I was young. I was kind of 16 years old or
Oh,
17,
okay,
but
okay.
still, I still remember it because it was not a coffee shop. It was not like even a fancy dinner. I don't care. But that's the thing. He took me to a football game and I was like, I'm having butterflies and my eyes are like shining.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think it's always, I think a dinner as a first date, I think is so, not intimidating, but there's too much pressure because we're sitting across from a table from one another. But if you have something that you can both focus on, where you are each other's periphery, but you have a focus of something else, I think that's so much easier for the level of activation to start building rapport. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas opposed to kind of both kind of here, okay, we're here and we're here for the next 2 hours and you have to engage with me and give your energy to
Yeah.
me constantly. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I mean 100%. And even I do think that dinners are like quite stressful because everyone wants just to portray the best version of themselves on the spot, whereas just being themselves or reacting to something,
Yeah.
it's kind of a constant act of thinking, how should I respond? What should I do? Even for a woman's perspective, what should I wear? How should I behave? What should I say? It's kind of a lot of work, whereas you just have to be yourself first,
Yeah.
or just connect, but on a more natural level.
Yeah. Yeah.
For
Of
example,
course.
as you mentioned, having the focus on something else gives you like that pace of, okay, we're interacting, we're watching for example, the game.
Yeah.
So it gives a pace of like rest, and it's just more pleasant as an overall experience.
100%. I want to shift gears a little bit onto something.
Mhm.
What do you find that in the dating world, do you find that obviously there are some girls who kind of get relationships and get the commitment from guys, and there's some women who are struggling with that.
Yes.
Do you find a difference between the two groups of women who are getting the relationships and the women who aren't?
Yes.
What would you say is a couple of the notable differences for you that you see?
Actually, I have quite a strong saying about this.
Okay.
It starts from the mindset. Well, how do you approach your relationships? I did find out that most women that doesn't get relationships approach the world in a very not negative approach. Like, I'm meeting this guy, but anyways, he's not gonna like me and nothing's gonna happen. I'm just meeting this. But whereas girls who gets relationships approach the world of, okay, I am meeting this man, but for a purpose of a relationship. I'm not just meeting just to kill time. So they're more wise choosing the man. They're more wise how they speak to them. They're approaching the word of, I am getting a relationship, not okay, I'm just like wasting time.
Yeah, I
This
hear that. I think if a girl's just going on a date because she's like, oh, the date's available, I completely agree. But I do think a lot of girls are like, oh, I'm ready for a relationship, but they're just not getting.
Trust me, I mean, saying being ready and being truly ready. I mean, being ready for a relationship is being vulnerable, exposing your wounds,
Yes.
acknowledging what you fear, and being able to support someone emotionally. And it's a lot of things. I can say I'm ready for a relationship, but the second you put me next to someone, I'm like, okay, no, he's gonna judge me. You're not ready for a relationship
Right.
if
So
you are
true.
if you are this if you think this way.
Yeah.
So
Do you find, have you seen whether, because people have like modern values, traditional values, do you find one attracts relationships more than the other, or do you think it just depends on the person?
actually, it depends on the person. I do believe that in life there is always a scale of 100 in each type of connection. If someone, for example, is 30, he's gonna find he's 70 in all kind of things. So,
Very true.
I mean, even if you're traditional, for example, if I'd say I'm traditional for 70%, maybe I might be attracted to someone less traditional than I am, but
Very
he
good point.
complements me. It's just how I approach life.
Yeah. So would you say you're traditional?
To an extent, yeah. Not to an extent. It's like more than the average.
More than the
Yes.
average person.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you say you're looking for also a guy who's traditional more on the average side or more kind of on the modern liberal side?
Actually, I don't mind. That's the thing. I think that sometimes the difference is that's what make things last. I think if I'm like more
Interesting.
traditional and I'm with a very traditional, maybe we're gonna be in monotony. Maybe
Yeah,
I
so
need
true.
someone who's like a bit different than me, so we can just balance things out.
Yeah, of course. Can you be with someone who's like, let's say you are traditional and you're with someone who's a very much more modern. Can you be with someone like that but still have the same values?
To an extent, yes,
Okay.
because you have a very honest conversation of expectations you have from one another.
Yes.
What are the core values? I mean, it depends on even how you portray not being traditional, in what sense you
Yes, of
really
course.
mean.
Yeah.
But if I say this is what I'm ready to offer and this is who I am, and the other person says the same, and you are agreeing on the first place on the things, that it can work.
Yeah.
But it only won't work if you're just pretending to be someone you're not, and then oops, hello, this is who I am, and then okay.
Yeah. You're like, psych, like, who is this person? You're
Yeah,
like, you weren't
you
this
don't
six
even
months
know.
ago? Yeah, that's so true. One last thing. What's one thing you would ask men today if you could? What would you ask all men today?
Men,
Yeah.
I'll go to this point again. I'll say, men, make yourself the best version ever of yourself you can be, because this is a shortcut to everything in life. Not only women, you're gonna be pitching yourself in the highest realms of
Yeah.
I mean, uh what the world has to offer. By working on yourself, you're gonna align with the best career, the best finances, and by extension, the best women and relationship you could possibly find. So it all starts from within. Work on yourself, and universe will just mirror back your work to you.
I completely agree. But what would you ask all men? Like, if you could ask them a question.
A question.
Yeah, if you could ask all men, like, oh, I don't get this, or why do you want this? Like, what do you want? What do you look for? Or how do I get this from you? Like, is there something you would ask them? Maybe you already know the answers.
Yeah, I would ask. Um, that's tricky. It makes me think a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I would ask men, how can a woman make you happy long term? On the long term, not on the short term.
Not in the short term.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a lot more simple than I think women think. If his physical needs are met and she respects him in, but especially outside of the home, most guys will take that. Respect and physical needs being met, and support. That's not saying he shouldn't provide something, but I think respect is such a big thing for men, as well as the physical needs. And I think, we're talking about why men cheat,
Yeah.
and when they're looking for that girlfriend experience I was talking about, respect is a very big one. Like, kind of, maybe he doesn't feel as respected in his relationship. Do you know what I mean? And if that's dynamic is happening, then he can start seeking it elsewhere. Like, if she doesn't feel attention or love, she can start seeking it elsewhere. But outside of physical needs being met, having respect, yeah, there's a whole thing of cooking and stuff. But in modern day age, most people know how to cook. He can look after himself. I think that's like a bonus. Do you know what I mean? And of course, loyalty. Yeah, like, you're not physical with anyone else.
And what do you think about men who get approval from their ability to get like higher status women, like not status, but like women achieving things? Because it's quite common.
What's quite common? What do you mean?
I mean, there is a type of men that are looking for women who have accomplished things in life just to fulfill their ego. Okay, I got this woman with this achievement, so I'm worthy. I've seen this quite, often in
So,
my
like,
surroundings.
like a guy trying to get like an incredibly successful woman.
Yes. Not because his like financial needs are not met within himself. No, it's just because of validation. Because I can get the.
I see what you're saying. Like, why would guys want to do that? Like, why would they prioritize the high achieving women?
For
over
example,
the
yeah. Because I came through the realization starting from myself again.
Yeah.
How can someone I've been hearing the debates between the 19 years old and, for example, someone who has studied or done stuff. So how can men, because absolutely there are men who are more willing to start relationships or like to value women that have done some achievements,
Yeah.
and other there that are not as equally interested. So I'm just trying to understand more
Yeah,
the
like,
psychology,
why would guys go after that? I think
behind it.
I think there's a couple of elements that play into this. I think men
Yeah.
find passion attractive.
Okay.
So if she's very passionate about something and she succeeded in it, usually the success is a reflection of the passion that she has. And that's really attractive. It's not necessarily the fact that she's successful, but it's the passion and drive. Unless she's like successful in something you have to be talented in, like music or like writing or something. Like, talent is attractive universally. So that's attractive, right? And the success is a show of, it's validation of the quality of talent you have. The other thing is that I think guys know, or guys presume, that if a woman is on a certain level, then she's not going to take the average guy, right? She's going to go for the guy who's got to be like this. So if he gets her, it's kind of like, well, I'm clearly this, because she wouldn't take anyone who's not this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that can be a thing. Outside of guys looking for her to like financially provide if she's crazy successful, those are the only two reasons I can think of why a guy would be actively, pursuing a woman because she's very successful. Do you know what I mean? Go on.
That comes to exclusivity, if I understand. So being the ability of get a very exclusive woman. This is what you mean?
Yeah, but it's more kind of because we know that women want to, they want to date across and up, right? Generally speaking, in terms of economic status and standing. So it's kind of like going to getting into Oxford or Cambridge. Like, they want to get in because they know they're super selective. Do you know what I mean? We know Oxford and Cambridge are super selective schools with who they accept. So if you got in, that tells us something about you.
Yes.
Because you got accepted by them. So it's kind of like that. It's like, oh, well, this woman would only accept a certain criteria of man. And if you got her, you must be that guy. Do you know what I mean?
I like this analogy.
Yeah, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily the success itself. Because it also depends on what kind of success it is. I mean, the most common one is I don't think guys are checking for the top 1% of girls on OnlyFans because they're the top 1% of girls on OnlyFans. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that's a thing. But guys definitely value the woman who is, when I say exclusive, is difficult to reach. When I say difficult to reach, as in it's very attractive for a guy to be with a woman that other guys can't reach. So in a sense of, like, for example, this is why it's weird that social media comes into play so much now, but this is why guys find it attractive if a girl doesn't have a big following and she's private on Instagram. Because it's like, oh, or at least if she's private, do you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, well, not only can other guys not see her, she doesn't want to like just put herself out there, but also if she's private, it shows that she's not looking to just be getting attention from random people. Do you know what I mean? Now that's not me saying women should just close themselves off, obviously, but we're just talking about, elements that guys desire in a woman. And of course, it's like, if you're with a woman, if he's with you and, he knows a lot of guys want you, but they're not accessible to you, for him, he's like, rah, like, she's an absolute prize because I have her and she's not even accessible. Do you know what I mean?
To other people.
Yeah, I'd say that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Answer the question?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Actually, I'm just still with the analogy that you gave earlier. I'm a fan of it, to be honest.
Take it with you. You can use it, whatever. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll definitely take it with me.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, listen, we love having you on. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your energy with us. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoy it. Like, I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, good.
For people to find me, I'm available on Instagram at Yousra_BENS, and hopefully I'll be sharing more content soon.
100%. She's leaving us for Dubai, guys. She's going to Dubai for a bit.
Fingers crossed. A new journey ahead.
A new journey. I'm sure she's going to fit in fine. Well, thank you for sharing your energy with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. Go show Yousra some love. Give her some likes. Do you know what I mean? Give her a follow. And if you're the type of man that you think she wants, give her slide in DMs. You never know. But she's going to Dubai, so good luck with that.
I mean,
we'll check.
But you never know. Just try your luck.
You never know. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And I will see you in the next episode.